Chapter 151. Ring. A clear and melodious voice came from behind them. The three of them were aghast as they looked back immediately, only to see Yiqing Luo's red dress fluttering amidst the flying sand and gravel. Her skirt swayed along with the strong airwaves, like a dazzling fire lotus standing on the fire. After the airwaves dissipated, Yiqing Luo's breathtaking face appeared in front of them. Yiqing Luo. She was not dead yet. The three killers' faces changed drastically. They had not expected Yiqing Luo's strength to be so strong, to be able to avoid their combined palm strike. Who is the lord you are talking about? Why do you want my ring? Yiqing Luo walked slowly towards them. The three of them were aghast as they stared at her vigilantly and subconsciously moved back. Obviously there was no fluctuation of profound qi on Yiqing Luo. It was obvious that Yiqing Luo's profound grade was below theirs. But the trio's fear and terror towards Yiqing Luo drove their body's instincts to avoid her. Not willing to say? Yiqing Luo snorted, her feather fan pressed against her pink lips as she smiled enchantingly. Since the three of you are unwilling to cooperate, then there's no point in keeping you here. Her words had just ended when the feather fan on her fingertips flew out ferociously. Like a raging flame, it engulfed everything it passed through. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived in front of the three killers. The red flame condensed profound qi, enveloping the three of them tightly. Good fellow, young matriarchy is indeed powerful. The killer looked at Yiqing Luo coldly and immediately retracted his gaze, exchanging glances with the other two beside him. Immediately, the three of them used their hands and feet to condense their profound qi once again and struck out a palm strike that could collapse the mountains and crack the earth. This palm strike was even more imposing than the previous one. Yiqing Luo's expression changed slightly as her brows knitted slightly. Her profound grade, under the combined force of the three of them, would be reduced to slag in seconds. These three people's profound qi was oppressive. Even with her set of footwork, she could not avoid it safely. Just now she was able to avoid that palm strike because she had been painstakingly studying the blink movement for the past few days. Seeing the profound qi blasting towards her, Yiqing Luo concentrated and held her breath. His figure suddenly turned into a red afterimage and disappeared. Boom boom boom. A thunderous sound reverberated as that palm wind struck the spot where Yiqing Luo was standing at earlier. The ground cracked open and the violent profound energy stacked up layer by layer. For a moment, the entire street was engulfed in billowing dust. The next time Yiqing Luo appeared, she was already at the end of the alley. Facing her, the raging wind was still howling, fluttering Yiqing Luo's long hair, fluttering her elegant long dress. When the smoke dissipated, the three assassins were nowhere to be seen except for the rubble in front of them. Ran away. Yiqing Luo's brows creased as her gaze immediately sensed the surroundings vigilantly. Pa-pa-pa. Ding-ling. Pa-pa-pa. Ding-ling. Right at this moment, a crisp sound of a slap resounded. Yiqing Luo was in a state of alertness when she was shocked by the sudden noise as her feather fan was instantly pinched on her fingertips. At the corner of the street, a petite figure was walking over. That was a young lady who looked like she was carved out of jade. Her height was estimated to be 1.4 meters. Yiqing Luo's body in this other world was just right for her height. And this young lady standing in front of her was actually shorter than her by a full head. She was dressed in a seemingly shabby pink long dress. The edge of the skirt hung a few strands of fluffy little balls, which made the young lady incomparably cute. Chapter 152. This appearance was a living Lolita. But the young lady's pair of indifferent and cold eyes were extremely inconsistent with her appearance. That was a pair of noble, arrogant eyes. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes as she examined the young lady in front of her, secretly guessing if she was a friend or foe. But in a blink of an eye, that young lady's eyes had lost all its brilliance as she lowered her eyelids and the applause in her hands stopped abruptly. This change. The change in that pair of eyes. It really aroused one's interest. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up as she hid away the defensive expression on her face. Little lass, how long have you been watching the show? Those three people are Godless Island's three evils. The young lady's voice was soft and it was an extremely pure baby's voice. This kind of voice coupled with this appearance. Yiqing Luo almost suspected that the chilly indifference she saw in the young lady's eyes earlier, was it a misconception? Stabilizing her thoughts, Yiqing Luo sized her up, Godless Island? Three evils? Godless Island. She had heard of it before. Nirvana Realm's #1 evil force, #1 island. It was rumored that it was comparable to the Imperial Palace's evil force. Three evils. What the hell was that? The young lady opened her mouth at the right time. Those are the 3 loyal little dogs raised by the Godless Island's island lord. They are triplets and have extremely strong telepathy. I have only seen one person who can deal with the 3 of them at the same time. Triplets? What a joke. Those 3 people, no matter how she looked, they didn't look like triplets. No one knows what the 3 evils look like. Other than killing, their disguise skills are the best. The young lady saw the astonishment in Yiqing Luo's eyes as she raised her brows and continued. Disguise skills. That's right, if they were Godless Island's killers, they would not make such a low-level mistake. That pair of man and woman who were tugging and pulling in front of her were definitely in disguise. Why would Godless Island's people look for me? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly as she lowered her eyes and stared at the ring on her ring finger. The young lady spread out her hands and shrugged. Didn't the 3 evils say it was because of the ring in your hand? The blood-colored jade ring was faintly leaping with a ball of flowing, subtle fire. This ring was given to her by Zhou Xian. Why? Did the island lord of Godless Island want Zhou Xian's ring? Could it be that the profound phoenix ring was hiding some sort of secret? Yiqing Luo's brows creased tightly, and just as she was about to sink into deep thoughts, she suddenly discovered that the Lolita young lady was still in front of her. Why do you know so much about the Godless Island? Compared to the Imperial Palace, the Godless Island was even more mysterious. There were very few people who could accurately recognize the disguised Xianxia as Xianxia and confirm that the 3 of them were from Godless Island. Yiqing Luo's eyes flashed. The corners of her long and narrow eyes rose slightly as her lips curled into a smile which didn't look like a smile. Are from the Godless Island? Pausing, Yiqing Luo's tone rose slightly, her sweet voice added a few hints of enchanting. Or, you want me to target Godless Island? The girl blinked her lifeless eyes. She tilted her head, her slightly curly hair covering half of her face. Although she was expressionless, her appearance was still adorable and touching. She seemed to be unable to understand the meaning behind Yiqing Luo's words. Yiqing Luo sneered. The devilish glint in her eyes suddenly stopped. The feather fan in her hands was like a blazing rainbow, striking towards the young lady's face. Chapter 153. The young girl stood there in a daze and did not evade. There was no fluctuation of profound qi around her. Yiqing Luo's brows knitted tightly as she squinted her eyes and stared deeply at the young girl's chest. There was no trace of profound jade heart glow at all. Could it be? This little Lolita was an ordinary person? But that pair of cold and indifferent eyes of little Lolita could not be erased from her mind. Just as that flame was just a little distance away from the young girl. The young girl's head moved slightly as she spat out a sentence without any expression. Coming. Just as her voice fell, without waiting for Yiqing Luo to ponder what was the meaning of this coming, she heard a low roar from the other end of the street. Who dares to create trouble in the Heavenly Academy? Immediately, Yiqing Luo felt a strong, profound qi fluctuation coming from the direction of the sound. How did little Lolita know that the people from the Heavenly Academy were here? Yiqing Luo retracted her gaze from the street and looked at little Lolita again. There was no one in front of her. Yiqing Luo's expression changed. That little Lolita was indeed not an ordinary person. She could actually disappear under her eyelids. Why couldn't she see little Lolita's profound jade heart? Yiqing Luo had no time to think about these questions. Those masters from the Heavenly Academy had already led a group of guards to the street. The leading master was one of the 3 judges who sat on the main stage during the ability assessment. The moment he saw Yiqing Luo and saw the mess on the ground, his grizzled brows wrinkled into a ball. The 7th Miss Yi, what's going on? The master's face revealed a difficult expression. Originally he still had a proud look, but now he had to show a smiling face to Yiqing Luo. They were in high spirits at the front door of the Heavenly Academy, welcoming the new students. Immediately they heard the guard report that there was a profound qi fluctuation at the back door of the Heavenly Academy. Moreover, the profound grade was not a match and the destructive power was also very strong. The master thought that it was another school who specially came to create trouble on the day of the new students' admission. With that he led the guards and rushed over in a threatening manner. But why was there only Yiqing Luo alone in the mess and among the flying sand and gravel? Could it be that powerful profound chi fluctuation was released by Yiqing Luo? There were too many people and I accidentally lost my way. Coincidentally, I met some people who wanted to sneak into the Heavenly Academy from the back door, so I taught them a lesson. Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes and lied with a straight face. Then he shook his head helplessly and sighed. But the other party's profound rank is above mine. It's a pity to let them escape. Hearing this, the headmaster's face suddenly changed. Who is it? As for the person, I'm not sure. Yiqing Luo's eyes revealed a crafty look as she lowered her voice and chuckled. But there was a student from the Heavenly Academy present at that time and she seemed to recognize those people. Who are they? The headmaster frowned. He was even more certain that those people were sent by other schools. Every year when they recruited new students, the various academies would rack their brains to recruit new students. They wished that they could take all the geniuses for themselves so that they could become the best academy. As the best academy that had stood strong for many years, it naturally became a thorn in the eyes of the other academies. Those people actually knew the students of the Heavenly Academy? Could it be there was a traitor? Chapter 154. Yiqing Luo briefly described the little Lolita's appearance. She believed that it would be a piece of cake for the master to find such a unique little Lolita. Yiqing Luo restrained the teasing smile on her lips and smiled. I shall not disturb the master's protection of the academy. I have not registered yet, so I'll head over first. She had said that she was not a good person. Since the little Lolita wanted to play mysterious with her if she did not fight back, was she still human? It would be a piece of cake for her to find the little Lolita with the help of a famous master in the Heavenly Academy. She didn't need to be mysterious, she just needed to wait for the little Lolita to take the bait. After listening to Yiqing Luo's description, a strange look appeared on the master's face. When he heard that she had not registered yet, he nodded repeatedly. When Yiqing Luo was about to leave, the master called her again. This is the first time old man Guiyu accepted a disciple. He has been pacing back and forth nervously in the courtyard since early morning. If 7th Miss is free, please bring 8th young master over to have a look. Yiqing Luo smiled and bowed slightly to the master. Thank you for your reminder, I will bring Xiaoyu over after the registration. Seeing that Yiqing Luo finally smiled, the master heaved a sigh of relief. There are too many arrays around the Heavenly Academy. If 7th Miss can't find the registration place, let the guards send you there, lest you break into the array and harm your safety. Yiqing Luo was worried about not knowing the way and naturally nodded when she heard this decision. Wow! Heavens! I can actually see the Mu brothers at the registration time. One of the students screamed in disbelief. Don't tell me the Mu brothers have relatives enrolled in the school? It was said that the Mu brothers would only appear in the academy during the high profound class. But this time not only did they appear during the ability assessment but also... Speaking of which, I remember now. During the ability assessment, the Mu brothers seemed to be the only one who went to the challenge between the Yi 7th Miss and the Yi 4th Miss. Yiqing Luo looked towards the direction of the crowd and indeed saw the Mu brothers, like a celebrity meeting, struggling to move forward in the crowd. Especially when she saw the bitter look on Mu Zifei's face and the sullen expression in his eyes, Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh out loud. 7th Miss and the 2 young masters of the Mu family. Guard Yi noticed Yiqing Luo's line of sight and asked out of curiosity. After asking, he stopped abruptly and changed the topic. The 2 young masters of the Mu family are students from the high profound class. After 7th Miss has registered, I will help you to memorize the route to the high profound class. After that, the guard scratched his head. That's not right. Miss 7 is the young master of the 3 Springs sect and the disciple of the Overlord. I don't think anyone in the academy would dare to bully Miss 7. Yiqing Luo smiled without saying a word. The 2 of them, one in front and one behind, passed through the crowd and were about to reach the registration area. Another wave of clamor was heard, followed by exclamations from all around. It's the Yuchi clan's 3rd young master. I heard that 3rd young master Yuchi is the first new student to be admitted into the academy. Yuchi? Hearing this surname, Yiqing Luo's slender brows rose slightly as she looked over. She saw a figure approaching from afar at an extremely fast speed. That person was sitting on the back of a giant leopard, dressed in a smoky brocade robe. The collar extended to the sleeves and was embroidered with gold. Chapter 155. The third young master of the Yuchi family, Wuxia. That giant leopard was at least a high-level magical beast. To be able to ride on a magical beast to report was enough to prove how strong he was. Especially that leopard, it was ferocious and was not to be trifled with. It was indeed the style of the Yuchi family to appear in such a domineering manner. Yiqing Luo sneered and withdrew her gaze. She had no interest in Wuxia. That guard had been wondering if he had said something wrong. At this moment, when he heard Yiqing Luo's laughter and saw her staring at Wuxia, he hurriedly said, "That is the third young master of the Yuchi family, one of the 4 great families in the West Continent. For this year's enrollment, 3 of the 4 major families have sent their children over and they have all passed the assessment. If there are no accidents, they should be entering the high profound class. 3 families' children were admitted into the Heavenly Academy." It was no wonder that the master was worried that people from other schools would come over to make trouble. Yiqing Luo nodded lightly. "Don't bother about insignificant people." After that, she turned to the registration counter and took the registration form. Seeing that she was filling in the form, the guard touched his nose and kept quiet. After filling in the form, Yiqing Luo took out 200 gold coins from the profound phoenix ring and handed it over together with the registration form. The procedure was very simple. In less than half an hour, the master handed over a wooden token, a badge and a piece of paper with black and white characters. The wooden token was the size of a palm and felt very good. You could vaguely feel the surge of spiritual qi from the wooden token. It should be made from a good spiritual tree. As for the badge, it was gray and dull without any luster or pattern. Looking at the paper, it was the receipt of the school uniform. Yiqing Luo kept them all and immediately took out another bag of gold coins. She smiled and said, "Master, I got separated from my brother. The registration fee is with me. If he comes to register later, please inform him for me." She said Yi Fengyu's name and handed over the gold coins. Yiqing Luo became famous in the ability assessment and had a close relationship with the overlord. The master recognized her at a glance. "I'm so busy that I'm confused." Just now, 8th young master Yi had paid the registration fee and entered the school. He specifically instructed me to inform 7th Miss when I see her. Paid the registration fee? Yi Fengyu had so many gold coins on him? Could it be? In Yiqing Luo's mind, an image of a man dressed in purple suddenly appeared. Zhou Xian. At once Yiqing Luo's cheeks flushed red. She shook her head and thanked him. After the guard sent Yiqing Luo into the academy, he then left. Before he left, he also gave Yiqing Luo a handbook of the Heavenly Academy, saying that this was a gift from the master to her. In this handbook, there were many records of the Heavenly Academy's glorious history, the Academy's rules and moral ideals. The last few pages had some simple introductions about the Heavenly Academy. It was said that there were no more than 100 copies of this manual in the entire academy. Those who had the handbook were either from powerful families or powerful individuals. They were all people that the headmaster of the academy wanted to nurture. From the handbook, Yiqing Luo also understood that the wooden token given to her by the master was the proof to enter and exit the school, which was equivalent to a student ID. The wooden plaque contained all the information of the student, even the changes in the profound grade were recorded clearly. This was also convenient for the teachers of the academy to understand the abilities and aptitudes of each student. And that badge was like the horizontal bar on the shoulder of the master. It was a symbol of status. The badges of freshmen were all dusty. Only after the class was allocated and the class guide opened it, the badge would show the class that the freshmen were in. Chapter 156. Yiqing Luo touched the badge on her chest. She still had no idea what class she was in. Probably high profound class. Although her profound grade was not high enough to enter the high profound class, but high profound class should be without a doubt. High profound class. There were quite a few acquaintances there. In the Heavenly Academy she might not be able to settle down and just go to school. Yiqing Luo collected her thoughts and kept the school's handbook. She injected profound qi into the wooden token according to the handbook's instructions. The wooden tablet flashed slightly and a row of golden words appeared on it. Name, Yiqing Luo. Gender, female. Age, 15. Profound grade, yellow. Profound 9th grade. Identity, young matriarch of Three Springs sect Yi family 7th Missy. Yiqing Luo's finger rubbed the top and in a flash, the location of her dormitory appeared. Following the display, Yiqing Luo arrived at the dormitory and there was no one inside. No wonder it was the best academy. The environment of the dormitory was excellent, even better than her courtyard in the Yi family. Yiqing Luo looked through the rooms one by one. There were a total of 4 rooms. The layout and decoration of each room were exactly the same. Perhaps it was the women's room. There were a few strings of shell-shaped wind chimes hanging on the wall of each room. Each room also had a window. A mahogany square table was placed next to the window with a bouquet of gorgeous blue flowers. Ow ow! Chi-Chi's white fluffy little body sprang out from Yiqing Luo's shoulder and let out a low moan. Chi-Chi! Yiqing Luo was overjoyed and rubbed Chi-Chi's little head. Have you rested well? Chi-Chi let out a cry and rubbed its head against Yiqing Luo's palm. Its pair of tiger eyes had turned into a curved line from smiling. Yiqing Luo chuckled softly. Her eyes were filled with gentleness. Other than the things the academy had prepared, the 4 rooms were empty. Obviously, the other roommates had not been to the dormitory yet. Yiqing Luo randomly chose a room and walked in. Her belongings were with Yi Fengyu. She could only wait until the master held the freshman assembly tonight to meet him and get her belongings back. The room had been cleaned by professional people. It was spotless and free of dust. Yiqing Luo laid directly on the bed and hugged Chi-Chi on her abdomen, her fingers caressing its head. For the next few days we're going to be busy, so we'll have to trouble you. Chi-Chi nodded. Towards Chi-Chi, Yiqing Luo's heart was filled with guilt. From Old Man Song, Yiqing Luo found out that the contract between Chi-Chi and her was a blood pact, which meant that Chi-Chi would forever be her battle pet for all eternity. The blood contract was enough to prove Chi-Chi's loyalty. But the biggest drawback was, Chi-Chi's strength would also be suppressed because Yiqing Luo's profound grade was too low. After forming a contract with Chi-Chi, Chi-Chi spent most of its time sleeping in the pet beast space. For pet beasts, sleep was a catalyst for growth and evolution. As one of the 4 ancient saint beasts, Chi-Chi's strength was suppressed to 0 in an instant. This was extremely damaging to the beast's body. Even though Chi-Chi knew the consequences, she still chose to form a contract with her without hesitation. This made Yiqing Luo even more touched. She secretly swore in her heart that she would find her profound jade heart as soon as possible and work hard to improve her strength and raise her profound grade. Awoo, as if it sensed its master's thoughts, Chi-Chi's little paws moved towards Yiqing Luo and its little head rubbed against her. At this moment, the dormitory room's door was opened. Chapter 157. Yiqing Luo frowned slightly. Living with such a barbaric roommate, it would be difficult for him to have a peaceful life in the future. She heard the sound of the door being slammed shut, and that pampered girl walked briskly into the dormitory. Yiqing Luo could hear the girl's footsteps. It seemed that she was checking the rooms one by one. She could vaguely hear the girl grumbling in a low voice. What kind of lousy place is this? Not even half as good as home. Father really has the heart to send me here to suffer. She could hear that this was a spoiled brat. After a while, the brat opened the door to Yiqing Luo's room. Seeing that someone was lying on the bed, her expression changed immediately, pointing at Yiqing Luo and cursing. Hey, who do you think you are? How dare you? I haven't chosen a room yet and you've already occupied it. The pampered and willful brat thought that no matter where she went, she was not afraid of anything. Seeing that Yiqing Luo was lying motionless, the brat flew into a rage and strode forward, stretching out her hand to grab Yiqing Luo. I want this room, get out of here. She had just moved into the dormitory and met a lunatic. It had nothing to do with her if the lunatic provoked others. However, this lunatic had to provoke her. Yiqing Luo's face sank, her charming eyes narrowed coldly. Get out of here. Just as the brat's hand was about to grab Yiqing Luo, her wrist was held tightly by Yiqing Luo. 5 fingers exerted a little force, only to hear the sound of bones breaking. The brat cried out in pain, clutching her wrist and staggered back. How dare you lay your hands on me? Do you know that I am one of the 4 great families, Shangguan family's 5th Miss Shangguan Lu Li? Shangguan Lu Li's wrist was in severe pain. The girl who had never suffered the slightest grievance at home couldn't stop her tears from flowing out. Yiqing Luo sneered and slowly sat up straight. Chi-Chi's small body nimbly jumped onto Yiqing Luo's shoulder, poked out her little head and stared at Shangguan Luli fiercely. Shangguan? The miss of the Shangguan family, is this all you can do? Hearing Yiqing Luo's ridicule, Shangguan Luli's tears flowed even more violently. She stared fiercely at Yiqing Luo, especially when she saw that sweet and enchanting face of Yiqing Luo. Her heart was filled with jealousy. His vision fell onto the little fur ball on Yiqing Luo's shoulder. Chi-Chi's ferocious look was not fierce at all when paired with this furry white cat's appearance. On the contrary, it was adorable. As soon as Shangguan Lioli saw this cute little thing, her eyes immediately couldn't move away. She rubbed her wrist and stared at Chi-Chi, putting on an expression as if she was bestowing a gift. Give me the kitten on your shoulder and I'll let you have this room. I won't hold it against you for hurting me. Miss, which eye of yours saw that I didn't want to be calculative with you? Yiqing Luo's eyes twitched. This brat was rather similar to Leng Fenghua. Both of them were living in their own world. Scram. Yiqing Luo leaned back against the headboard and spat out a word coldly. Her knees bent slightly, one hand rested on her knee and closed her eyes. She didn't even bother to look at Shangguan Luli. Chapter 158. Shangguan Lioli gritted her teeth in hatred and wanted to rush up to teach Yiqing Luo a lesson. But when she thought of how Yiqing Luo broke her hand without hesitation, she didn't dare to act rashly. When had a spoiled and arrogant girl ever been bullied like this? Looking at Yiqing Luo's indifferent and arrogant look, Shangguan Lioli felt even more wronged and angry. A pair of hazy, tearful eyes burned with a fiery light. Just you wait. Don't think that you don't have to worry about my identity in the academy. Not to mention outside the academy, I have 100 ways to torture you to death. Even in the academy, I can still make you wish you were dead. Yiqing Luo suddenly opened her eyes, a pair of charming eyes, suffused with a cold chill. Just one look and Shangguan Lioli was scared to take a few steps back. Shangguan Lioli's face was full of shame and anger. The dignified fifth miss of Shangguan was actually scared to this look by a little slut. If this was spread out, how was she going to mix around? You wait for me, my brother is a student of the high profound class. After saying that, Shangguan Lioli wiped her tears and ran out. She happened to bump into the woman who opened the dormitory door and walked in. The woman's figure was petite and dressed in pink. Shangguan Lioli was still angry and didn't dare to vent her anger on Yiqing Luo. Now that she had a punching bag, it was also to prove that her identity was strong. Without any explanation, a slap landed on the face of the woman who bumped into her. I'm owing you. Didn't I say don't even think of stepping into this dormitory today? How dare you defy my orders? The woman fell to the ground from the slap. Her small hands supported on the ground, slightly curled up long hair, covered half of the woman's face. However, his pair of gloomy and lifeless eyes were so calm that it was terrifying. After being slapped, the woman didn't get angry, didn't cry and didn't make a fuss. She just quietly and silently tried to get up. However, her forbearance greatly agitated Shangguan Lioli. Shangguan Lioli stepped on the woman's pink sleeve with one foot and kicked hard with the other. Who allowed you to get up? Crawl out of here. The woman was kicked again. However, the expression on his face did not change. There wasn't even pain or a frown on his face. She didn't move and just lay on the ground. She allowed Shangguan Lioli to step on her sleeve. Through the open door, Yiqing Luo could see everything that happened in the hall. He also recognized the woman on the ground with a single glance. Wasn't she the little Lolita who told Yiqing Luo about Godless Island and Godless Three Devils at the academy's back door? Unexpectedly, she was thinking of asking the headmaster to find the little Lolita. He and the little Loli became roommates. This was fate. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as she flipped over and got up from the bed. She slowly walked towards the little Loli. Shangguan Lioli's expression changed. What are you going to do? You're too noisy. Yiqing Luo picked her ears and lazily lifted her eyelids. It's very ear-piercing, I can't stand it. In other words, he was insulting Shangguan Lioli's voice. Not waiting for Shangguan Lioli to cry out in anger, Yiqing Luo had already walked past her and stopped in front of the little Lolita. Yiqing Luo bent down and stretched out her hand to the little Lolita. Your name is Imoing Yu? The little Lolita nodded silently. A pair of dull eyes stared at Yiqing Luo blankly. She wanted to put her hand in Yiqing Luo's hand, but her sleeve was stepped on by Shangguan Lioli and could not move. Yiqing Luo glanced sideways, the corner of her mouth raised into a shallow arc. Chapter 159. In this era the fist was the hard truth. She had merely let Shangguan Lioli taste some bitterness. At this moment Shangguan Lioli was filled with fear towards Yiqing Luo. She stomped her feet and angrily rebuked. Don't you know who she is? She is a waste from the earth profound class. The one with the worst aptitude and foundation and never goes to class. Shangguan Lioli felt extremely aggrieved. This woman didn't fawn on her, one of the 4 great families, but helped a waste instead. Was she sick in the head? Yiqing Luo didn't know what Shangguan Lioli was thinking and wasn't interested to know. She chuckled and her eyes were filled with endless ridicule. So what? Waste? Earth profound class? Yiqing Luo didn't believe that a person with that pair of cold and proud eyes would be a waste. Even now Mo Yingyu's lifeless eyes were destined to not be an ordinary person. What's more, to be able to clearly mention the godless island and the 3 evils would be a waste. Shangguan Lioli was choked by Yiqing Luo's words and turned to leave with a flushed face. Lowly trash is lowly trash. If the 2 of you get together you'll be able to form a group of trash. Shangguan Lioli slammed the door with a loud bang. The entire dormitory seemed to be shaken. Why didn't you fight back? Yiqing Luo held her hand and pulled her up with a little force. Mo Yingyu tilted her head and looked at Yiqing Luo with a pair of lifeless eyes without saying a word. Even the hand that held Yiqing Luo's hand was frozen there and didn't withdraw. It was like a puppet without a soul. This thought stunned Yiqing Luo and she subconsciously tightened her grip on Mo Yingyu's hand. The touch was soft, smooth and the temperature was normal. 5 fingers clasped her wrist and there was a pulse beating. She was 100% sure that Mo Yingyu was a person. But why did a person live like a puppet without any expression or soul? Yiqing Luo frowned slightly and let go of Mo Yingyu's hand. She didn't want to say and Yiqing Luo naturally didn't bother to ask. It was until Yiqing Luo returned to her own room and was about to close the door when that little Lolita who had been standing at the same spot in silence, slowly raised her head. Fighting back is troublesome. I'm tired. It was still the same childish voice, spitting out the words one by one. Because he found it troublesome and tiring, he obediently took the beating? This answer made Yiqing Luo really speechless. Then, at the back door of the academy, why did you watch the show in the dark and even lead me to change my target to the godless island? This time Mo Yingyu answered quickly, that's the 3 evils of Wu. How do you prove it? Yiqing Luo narrowed her eyes. Mo Yingyu's face was expressionless, her eyes empty. Yiqing Luo couldn't use her ability to see through people's hearts on Mo Yingyu. Mo Yingyu blinked her eyes. Her delicate and adorable little face began to change slightly. Her delicate and thin eyebrows were knitted together. Her entire face was wrinkled and a trace of hostility appeared between her brows. Her pink lips pouted as she muttered in a flustered and exasperated manner, "Troublesome. How troublesome. So troublesome." She flicked her sleeves and the 2 pink fur balls on her sleeves swayed. The black bell gave out a jingle-jingle sound. Immediately, Mo Yingyu went straight into the room next to Yiqing Luo's and closed the door. Yiqing Luo touched her nose. This was the first time she met with a rebuff since she came to this strange world. Chapter 160. Yiqing Luo rested in the dormitory for a few hours until she heard the school's huge bell ringing. She rubbed her eyes and got up from the bed. Looking at the sky outside the window, it should be around 5 p.m. now. There was still half an hour before the freshmen's meeting. Yiqing Luo stretched herself and Chi jumped off the bed. Its little body trembled as it raised its head and licked its lips. Hungry, speaking of which, I'm a little hungry too. Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand towards Chi and it leaped up. 1 person and 1 beast went out of the room. Mo Yingyu's room was still tightly shut. Yiqing Luo couldn't sense her breath and didn't know if she was in the room at this time. Shangguan Lioli still hadn't returned. The dormitory was quiet and there was no sign of human activity. Yiqing Luo sighed and opened the door. Just as she was about to go out, a delicate lady rushed towards her and collided with her. Chi-Chi was knocked flying and rolled on Yiqing Luo's bed. It opened its mouth and smelled its master's warm scent. It closed its eyes and fell asleep again. Yiqing Luo didn't notice it and looked at the lady who was knocked down. She was dressed in a long emerald green dress with unique hair tied up and a pretty face. The lady also wore a silk bracelet on her wrist and a pink belt with gold patterns on her waist. She looked extremely youthful and lively. Sorry. The lady quickly bowed down to apologize and squatted on the ground to pick up the scattered luggage. I'm the one who knocked into you, I should be the one apologizing. Yiqing Luo hooked her lips and squatted down to pick up the luggage for the lady. Yiqing Luo's principle was very simple. If people don't offend me, I won't offend them. Just like this lady, her attitude was gentle. As the saying goes, don't hit a smiling face. Moreover, this was her roommate, someone who would be living together for a period of time in the future. Yiqing Luo's expression softened a little. After picking up the luggage for the lady, she hugged the package and stuck out her tongue in embarrassment. Sorry to let you see such a joke. This is my room and that room is also occupied. You can choose one of the other two. Yiqing Luo pointed to the remaining 2 rooms. The lady walked towards the room opposite Yiqing Luo and pushed the door open. Tossing the things onto the bed, a satisfied expression appeared on his face. Phew. The environment is really good. I've finally arrived at the academy. I must have a feast tonight to make up for my exhaustion today. She opened her arms and twirled around. When he turned towards Yiqing Luo, he then realized that there was someone else in the room. His movements immediately stiffened, and he awkwardly scratched his head as he smiled. I'm sorry, I embarrassed myself again. I'm used to being at home. It's okay. He's cute. Yiqing Luo curled her lips and stretched out her hand. I'm Yiqing Luo, your roommate. Let's take care of each other in future. She was indeed very cute. Compared to those who looked gentle on the surface but were actually cruel and merciless. Yiqing Luo preferred someone like Shangguan Lioli or this girl, someone who could see through one's thoughts. At the very least, there was no need to painstakingly plot against each other. My name is Lu Xiaoyu. The woman hurriedly stretched out her hand and shook hands with Yiqing Luo. Finally, there was a normal person. Pack your luggage, I'll go out to find something to eat. Yiqing Luo glanced at the messy things on the bed. Are you hungry? I have a lot of food here. Lu Xiaoyu rummaged through the pile of things on the bed and took out a tightly tied package. She sat on the bed and placed the package on her lap. Her fingers deftly untied the knot. It was a wooden box. After opening it, there were a total of 3 layers inside, and each layer was filled with exquisite pastries. Chapter 161. Lu Xiaoyu nibbled on the pastry and didn't forget to pass the wooden box to Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo was indeed hungry and didn't stand on ceremony. She took out a piece and nibbled on it. A strong red bean taste filled her mouth, leaving a fragrant aftertaste in her mouth. Delicious, right? Lu Xiaoyu raised her eyebrows proudly. Our chef is the best chef, I love these pastries the most. Yiqing Luo nodded with a smile, the taste was indeed good. Do you know who our other 2 roommates are? Yiqing Luo finished the pastries and wiped her hands. Moing you, Shangguan Luli. Lu Xiaoyu put the wooden box on the bed and stood up suddenly. Shangguan Luli is also in this dormitory? Yiqing Luo nodded lightly. Then, she was crying outside that someone bullied her. It was you? Lu Xiaoyu's eyes widened in disbelief. Crying? Bullied? Yiqing Luo's eyes twitched. Shangguan Luli really didn't care about her reputation at all? Crying outside, was she afraid that others wouldn't know that the dignified Shangguan 5th Missy was bullied on the first day of school? If I'm not wrong, it should be me. Wow. Lu Xiaoyu held Yiqing Luo's hand with both hands, her dark eyes sparkled brightly. Qing Luo, you're amazing. Shangguan Luli is a mystic profound 2nd grade. It is said that she has been allocated to the high profound class. You actually beat her. After shouting excitedly, Lu Xiaoyu's face sank. But, you have to be careful, Shangguan Luli's 3rd brother is in the high profound class and has gathered a group of his own forces in the Heavenly Academy. If you offend Shangguan Luli, her 3rd brother will definitely find trouble with you. My principle is not to cause trouble, but also not to be afraid of trouble. Yiqing Luo smiled and let go of Lu Xiaoyu's hand. All right, I will settle Shangguan Luli's matter. You go and tidy up the room first, the freshman assembly is about to start. When it was time, the school bell rang. A burst of neat and loud voices spread from the school. Listening to the voices, there were about a dozen people, and they used their profound energy to spread their voices to every corner of the academy. Attention new students! Attention new students! Hurry and report to the academy's plaza. After the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, all the new students must arrive at the plaza. Otherwise it will be a major demerit. The voice rang out more than 10 times before it stopped. Outside the door, the clamor of students could be heard as they swarmed towards the square. Yiqing Luo remembered the punishment for mistakes she had seen in the handbook. A student only had 3 major demerits and 5 minor demerits. Once a mistake exceeded the record, they would be fired. Yiqing Luo and Lu Xiaoyu packed up and arrived at the public square together. The 2 women, one cold and enchanting, the other elegant and charming, immediately attracted the attention of countless people. Although there were quite a number of beauties in the academy, but there weren't many stunning beauties like Yiqing Luo. Moreover, who would complain about having too many beauties? Yiqing Luo found a spot and pulled Lu Xiaoyu to a corner. The academy occupied a vast area with a total of more than 50 halls. There was also a huge square which was even bigger than the assessment square. It was divided into 3 sections: High Profound Class, Intermediate Class, and Earth Profound Class. There were all kinds of learning equipment, weapons, and so on. This was the place for students to train and exercise. Their freshman assembly was held in this square. The time it took to burn a stick of incense was soon up. Chapter 162. The freshman assembly was a traditional activity of the Heavenly Academy. It was also an opportunity for the students to get to know each other. Atop the platform of the plaza stood the 3 sovereign teachers who had participated in the ability test. Guiyu stood at the corner of the high platform, squinting his eyes, searching for Yiqing Luo's position in the crowd. When he saw Yiqing Luo, his old eyes widened and waved excitedly at her. As a master on the high platform, every move of his was watched by countless eyes. This action of Guiyu was naturally noticed by many. They couldn't help but look towards the direction where Guiyu waved. Their line of sight was fixed on Yiqing Luo. Qing Luo, do you feel that? Everyone is looking at you. Lu Xiaoyu had never been in contact with such a big scene. She subconsciously held Yiqing Luo's arm and squeezed closer to her. Yiqing Luo's hand froze. She had never been in such close contact with others. Yiqing Luo was not used to it, but she didn't hate this feeling. It's not like we are shameful, let them see if they want to see. Lu Xiaoyu was after all thin-skinned, her eyes drooped down and her cheeks were stained with crimson. Yiqing Luo sighed and gently patted Lu Xiaoyu's hand. Raising her bewitching eyes, her expression sunk slightly. Her gaze transformed into a cold and sharp glint that pierced towards everyone who was looking over. The powerful aura made the freshmen shrink their necks. Cough, 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 the headmaster is here, the headmaster is here. Freshmen, please be quiet. The master on the stage eased the atmosphere. As soon as the voice fell, a white figure descended from the sky and landed steadily in the middle of the high platform. That was an old man. A set of white robe covered him tightly, revealing only a pair of sharp and astute eyes and white hair scattered on his shoulders. The body under the white robe seemed to have no bones. The white robe was hanging loosely in the air. The old man was holding an agate-colored walking stick in his hand. The agate jade on the top of the walking stick was flickering with electric brilliance, symbolizing his status. The heavenly headmaster. The moment he appeared, all the freshmen in the field immediately shifted their eyes to the high platform. Each of them revealed a look of fear, trembling as they stood straight and held their breath. This was authority. It was a majesty that made one's body react instinctively. The entire freshman area was silent, so quiet that even their own breathing could be heard clearly. Even the old students and the headmasters who were standing outside of the meeting were in awe. The heavenly dean coughed lightly, his voice was old and full of majesty. I am the dean of this academy, welcome to the Heavenly Academy. His voice paused and he raised the walking stick in his hand. A square-shaped stone slab appeared above his head. Everyone, take out your wooden tablet and stamp it on the protruding part of the stone slab. A teacher stepped forward and took the stone slab. Then he carried the stone slab and walked down the high platform. Starting from the first freshman, each of them took out the wooden token they received when they registered and imprinted it on the stone slab. Every time a wooden tablet was imprinted, the slate would emit a dazzling light. The students took turns to imprint the wooden token, and the heavenly dean continued on the high platform. I don't care what your identity is outside the school, or what class you are assigned to. Once you enter the Heavenly Academy, you have to listen to the arrangements of the Heavenly Academy. Chapter 163. The freshman responded almost subconsciously, yes. The headmaster nodded in satisfaction and continued to speak. It was some general principles that everyone understood. After the long-winded speech, the other masters came over to continue. Teacher Wen's representative went up on stage and gave a long series of lectures on how to be a person. On the other hand, Wu Fuzi's speech was crude and easy to understand, but it was also filled with an awe-inspiring boldness. The entire event lasted for about 4 hours. The headmaster then announced the successful end of the event. Just like when he came, he leaped and his white robe flitted across the night sky and disappeared from everyone's sight in the blink of an eye. His speed was so fast that countless new students exclaimed in admiration, and they were filled with reverence for Dean Xian. In the crowd, Yiqing Luo sneered disdainfully. The headmaster is so awesome. Qing Luo, don't you think so? Hearing Yiqing Luo's sneer, Lu Xiaoyu retracted her gaze from the direction where the headmaster disappeared. Yiqing Luo lightly hooked her lips and did not answer. She did not have the slightest bit of respect for this so-called heavenly dean. On the contrary, she felt that this headmaster was too good at pretending. Which of the headmasters of the academy was not highly respected and had a scholarly air about them? And when the headmaster appeared, he didn't take the easy way out and chose to descend from the sky, as if he was afraid that others didn't know his profound grade. And when he left, he even showed his hand. No matter how one looked at him, he didn't look like a respectable senior. After the crowd sent off the headmaster, the 3 masters stood on the high platform and said the closing remarks. Accompanied by the applause, the masters repeated, "All freshmen, don't forget to report to the square tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. for training and class allocation." In the end, the 4 masters removed the enchantment and dispersed. Yiqing Luo held Lu Xiaoyu and stood still. After a while, Yi Fengyu trotted over with the luggage. The moment he saw Yiqing Luo, a big smile appeared on his handsome face. "Sister, I have already moved into the dormitory and got along well with my roommates." Yiqing Luo took the luggage and touched Yi Fengyu's head. "Don't trust others too easily, no one will treat you unconditionally for no reason, be careful." Hearing this, Yi Fengyu was slightly startled and the smile on his face froze. After a long while he nodded seriously. "Thank you for reminding me, big sister. I understand." While the siblings were still talking, some of the freshmen who had been standing there for 4 hours felt their legs go numb. Without any strength, they returned to their dormitories to rest. The bustling square gradually quietened down. "Qing Luo, bad news." Lu Xiaoyu suddenly tugged at Yiqing Luo's sleeve. Up ahead, Shangguan Liuli was pulling a man dressed in the academy's uniform over. Behind the man were 5 or 6 other men. Yiqing Luo's eyes narrowed as she saw the badge on the man's chest, emitting a golden Gao word. "High profound class students." Shangguan Liuli's 3rd brother? Yiqing Luo's brows rose, but there was no expression on her face. "Sister, what's going on?" Yi Fengyu felt that the atmosphere was strange. That group of people were obviously here for Yiqing Luo. It was only the first day of school and there were already people who wanted to deal with his sister? Yiqing Luo shook her head lightly and pulled Yi Fengyu and Lu Xiaoyu behind her. Coincidentally, Shangguan Liuli and the group of men had already arrived in front of Yiqing Luo. The appearance of the students from the high-level class immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding students. On one side were the senior students dressed in the academy's uniform, and on the other side were the freshmen dressed in ordinary clothes. From the looks of it, it was obvious that there were freshmen who were not afraid of death and went against the students from the high-level class. Chapter 164. Are you the roommate who shares a room with Lu Li? The 3rd young master of the Shangguan family, Shangguan Fengyi, stared at Yiqing Luo and asked with a smile. Although he was in the academy, Shangguan Fengyi had heard of Yiqing Luo's deeds. Originally he thought the rumors were too exaggerated. But after seeing her today he believed the rumors. "Whether we are roommates or not, it's not certain yet." Yiqing Luo replied with a smile. Shangguan Fengyi frowned. He was an old student of the academy and a student of the high profound class. No matter how capable Yiqing Luo was, she should at least give him some face. But Yiqing Luo was so arrogant. No wonder his arrogant sister was so angry that she cried and made a fuss. You want to drive me out of the dormitory? Shangguan Lu Li's face turned red with anger. She relied on her brother's support and was not afraid of Yiqing Luo. She walked out from behind Shangguan Fangyi and pointed at Yiqing Luo. The Heavenly Academy has no regulations on changing dormitory. Don't even think of driving me out. Yiqing Luo raised her brows. Did I say I will drive you out of the dormitory? Shangguan Liuli was speechless. She was embarrassed and angry at the same time. She stomped her feet and tugged at Fangyi's sleeve. 7th Miss Yi, since you did not want to drive Luli out, why did you speak ill of her in the dormitory and even broke her hand? Shangguan Fangyi's face sunk slightly. He admitted that a woman like Yiqing Luo was enough to attract his attention. But this did not mean that the dignity of the Shangguan family was allowed to be trampled on by Yiqing Luo. Yiqing Luo's attitude was obviously not putting the Shangguan family in her eyes. He purposely raised his voice so that the people around him could hear his words, which were very reasonable. This was also to explain to the people around that he was not bullying the freshman, but to seek justice for his sister. Yiqing Luo chuckled, crossed her arms and looked at him with a faint smile. Then why don't you ask your precious sister? There are 4 people in the dormitory. Why did I specifically bully her? The surrounding people let out a hiss. They all agreed with Yiqing Luo's words. Many of the people around were young masters and young ladies of influential families. Naturally, they had heard of Shangguan Liuli's arrogance. If it wasn't for the provocation, who would be so bored as to quarrel with their roommates on the first day of school? One had to know that in the Heavenly Academy, once the dormitory was set, there would not be any changes until graduation. No matter what, you're the one who seriously injured Liuli. You should apologize. Shangguan Fangyi's face turned ashen when he heard the agreement from the surrounding students. He took a step back. Those 6 old students behind them surrounded Yiqing Luo and the others. Out of these 6 men, 4 were from the intermediate class, 1 was from the low class and the last one hid his class. He must be a student from the low profound class. This action caused an uproar among the crowd. Are they going to start fighting at the slightest disagreement? One by one they walked further away, afraid that they would be implicated in this disaster. Yi Fengyu's face darkened as he pulled Yiqing Luo's hand and stood in front of her. Sister, they are simply taking advantage of their power to bully others. They want you to apologize and protect the Shangguan family's reputation. Lu Xiaoyu shrunk behind Yiqing Luo, her big bright eyes flashed as she stared at the 6 people surrounding her. Qing Luo, do you want to fight? Didn't you read the rules of the Heavenly Academy properly? Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile as she stared at Shangguan Fangyi and said word by word, students who engage in private fights in the school will be given a major demerit. Chapter 165. There was a hint of surprise in Shangguan Fangyi's eyes. Yiqing Luo was just a freshman, how would she know the rules of the Heavenly Academy? Speaking of taking advantage of one's power to bully others. Yiqing Luo gave a low laugh and put her arm over his shoulder. In the Heavenly Academy, who can compete with your power? Yi Fengyu was at a loss, not understanding the meaning of his sister's words. Yiqing Luo's lips curled into a smile as her peripheral vision caught a glimpse of a white figure flashing past the crowd. She raised her voice and said, according to 3rd Young Master Shangguan, if 5th Miss Shangguan attacks me, I have to stand still and let her severely injure me? Yiqing Luo's voice paused as she sneered coldly, I really can't agree with the Shangguan family's robber logic. When the crowd heard this, they couldn't help but roar with laughter. In front of everyone, Shangguan Fangyi was humiliated like this. His face turned red and green, and he clenched his fists so tightly that his veins were bulging. The Academy's rules did indeed state that private fights were not allowed within the Academy. The 6 men were only putting on an act. None of them dared to make a move. They had really belittled Yiqing Luo. With just a few words, she had actually dragged the Shangguan clan into this. If the people around them were laughing at him or Shangguan Liuli, it would be fine. Unfortunately, under Yiqing Luo's lead, all of them were looking at the Shangguan family as a joke. Shangguan Fangyi could not take this lying down. 3rd brother. Look at her. She doesn't even put our Shangguan family in her eyes. Shangguan Liuli pouted and shook Shangguan Fengyi's arm. Ever since she was young, she had always been a flower in a greenhouse. Her family had always held her in the palm of their hands and cared for her as she grew up. He had never suffered any grievances. Even if she caused trouble outside, as long as she mentioned the Shangguan clan, no one would dare to say anything bad about her. This was the first time in Shangguan Liuli's life that she had met someone who wasn't afraid of her Shangguan family. "Shut up." Shangguan Fengyi scolded her sternly. This spoiled, willful, big-breasted, brainless sister of his really gave him a headache. At this moment, Shangguan Liuli still had to use the name of the Shangguan clan. He was not afraid of a godlike opponent, but he was afraid of a pig-like teammate. Shangguan Liuli was definitely a pig-like teammate. No matter how much Shangguan Fengyi doted on his sister for a man, the face of the family was naturally more important than his sister. He raised his hand and slapped Shangguan Liuli's face. Shangguan Liuli was so stunned that she even forgot to cry. She covered half of her face in a daze and looked at Shangguan Fengyi in disbelief. After a long while, tears the size of beans gushed out of her eyes. She pointed at Shangguan Fengyi, her whole body trembling. "You hit me? Third brother, I will tell father." After saying that, she covered her face and ran away, crying bitterly. After witnessing the dog-eat-dog drama, Yiqing Luo raised her brows as her lips curled into a mocking smile. "Move aside." His gaze slowly swept across the 6 men surrounding him. A chill ran down his spine from the soles of his feet to his head. That gaze seemed to be able to take their lives at any moment. When they heard Yiqing Luo's cold and enchanting voice, their legs subconsciously opened up a path. Yiqing Luo glanced at Shangguan Fengyi with ridicule as she led Yi Fengyu and Lu Xiaoyu out of their encirclement and walked towards the direction of the dormitory without turning back. "Stop right there." Chapter 166. I'm being overbearing? Yiqing Luo snorted coldly, her charming eyes flashed. "Let the students be the judge. When was I being overbearing?" She changed the topic, her pink lips raised lightly. "Moreover, if it wasn't for the Shangguan 5th Miss who insisted on using the Shangguan family to suppress me, why would I mention them?" These words were extremely sarcastic. Who is Yiqing Luo? The young matriarch of Three Springs sect, the future matriarch. Even though the current Three Springs sect was gradually falling behind in the hands of Yi Tianquang. But no one could shake the position of one of the 4 major sects in the Nirvana realm. A mere cultivator's family was nothing in Yiqing Luo's eyes. Shangguan Liuli was simply a clown in front of Yiqing Luo. The onlookers looked at Shangguan Fengyi with even more ridicule. Shangguan Fengyi's face turned ashen and gloomy. In the Heavenly Academy, everything starts from zero. The affairs of us students have nothing to do with the family. I hope 7th Miss can distinguish this clearly. You'd better say this to the Shangguan 5th Mississippi. Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes. She was puzzled. These people with eyes on the top of their heads, did they not understand human language? That's right, in the Heavenly Academy, all students are equal. Suddenly, a vigorous and powerful voice came from the crowd. An old man with his hands behind his back walked over in a sloppy manner. A head of white hair messily tied into a ball, a white master's robe hanging loosely on his body. Ask you. He looked like a crazy old man. But in the academy I have the backing of the Yi siblings. I am the force behind them. Who else could this crazy but arrogant old man be other than Old Man Guiyu? Master. Yi Fengyu called out joyfully upon seeing Old Man Guiyu. It was obvious that Old Man Guiyu had met him and accepted him as his disciple after Yi Fengyu entered the academy. Yiqing Luo's brows softened. The smile on the corner of her mouth also added some gentleness. It seemed that she need not worry about Yi Fengyu in the future. With Old Man Guiyu's care, Yi Fengyu would definitely be successful in the Heavenly Academy. Based on Old Man Guiyu's character, Yiqing Luo was not afraid that Yi Fengyu would be bullied by others. Even without her, Old Man Guiyu would strike first. Master Guiyu. Yiqing Luo greeted him. Hearing the way Yiqing Luo addressed him, Old Man Guiyu's face lit up with joy as he strode over. Luo lass, leave this to me. Bring you back to the dormitory first. Master Guiyu. Shangguan Fengyi looked at Guiyu with an ugly expression. As the young master of the Shangguan family and having stayed in the Heavenly Academy for several years, he was naturally aware of Old Man Guiyu's identity. If old man Guiyu intervened in this matter, he would have to swallow this matter into his stomach. My disciple, the Luo girl that I have my eyes on, you dare to stop me? High-profound class students can do whatever they want in the academy. Old man Guiyu turned to Shangguan Fangyi and his face turned cold. Shangguan Fangyi suppressed his anger, lowered his head and replied respectfully, "Student doesn't dare. Student just wants to help my sister." Old man Guiyu squinted his eyes and pointed at Shangguan Fangyi arrogantly, not leaving any face for him. "The person that I have my eyes on, I know very well what kind of character she has. You have to see if you have the capital to slander my person in front of me." These words caused Shangguan Fangyi to be unable to spit out a single word. Chapter 167. Yiqing Luo's lips curled up into a smile as she put the luggage on Yi Fengyu's shoulder. "Let's go, help me tidy up the room." But master Yi Fengyu held the luggage and glanced at the direction of old man Guiyu. Master was helping them out of trouble. If they just left like that, wouldn't it be too heartless? Fool. Yiqing Luo knocked on Yi Fengyu's head. "What have you been learning in the Yi family for the past 10 years? Why are you so stupid?" Yi Fengyu looked at his sister blankly, not understanding the meaning of her words. "Master Guiyu, I'll leave this to you. We have training tomorrow morning, we'll go back to the dormitory first." Yiqing Luo shouted at old man Guiyu's back. Old man Guiyu waved his hand and motioned for them to leave. Yiqing Luo pulled Yi Fengyu and Lu Xiaoyu and turned to leave. The surrounding crowd spontaneously made way for them. After a while, the three of them arrived at the female dormitory area. Yi Fengyu was blocked by the guards outside the area. Yiqing Luo pulled over the luggage on his shoulder and patted his head. "You, just go back to the dormitory, don't bother your master." "Master Yi Fengyu looked troubled. Shangguan Fangyi didn't speak for a long time. Obviously he doesn't want to have any conflict with us, but for the sake of the family's reputation he needs a way out. It's the first day of school, we don't need to make things too big. Since Master Guiyu is here, this way out is under his feet. If we were still here, he would naturally be embarrassed and would continue to pester us." Yiqing Luo sighed softly and explained patiently. The siblings had lost their mother since they were young. Yi Tianquang never cared about them. Although Yi Fengyu studied in an ordinary school, the things taught by those masters were all dead logic. No one had taught him how to conduct himself in the world. Yi Fengyu nodded in realization. "So, the power that sister mentioned is referring to master's power? Master Guiyu's status in the school is very high. If you follow him, you will definitely not suffer. If he's willing to teach you, I'm sure you'll have a qualitative leap in your cultivation before long." Yiqing Luo's hand slid from her brother's head to his ear and pinched it fiercely. "As a man, if you want to protect sister, then learn well from teacher Guiyu. Don't always think that sister will help you when you run into trouble. Everything depends on yourself, understand?" Yi Fengyu covered his ears in pain and repeatedly responded. "Go back and have a good rest. Don't embarrass me in tomorrow's training." Yiqing Luo released his ear. Seeing that his ears had turned red, she rubbed them, her heart aching for him. The siblings exchanged a few more words of concern before sending Yi Fengyu off. After returning to the dormitory, the entire dormitory was silent. Mo Inyue's room was still quiet. It seemed like he didn't see Mo Inyu at the freshman competition either. Shangguan Liuli wasn't in the dorm either. Qing Luo Shangguan Luli is famous for being pampered and unruly. Even if we temporarily reconcile tonight, I'm afraid third young master Shangguan will not let you off easily. Lu Xiaoyu followed closely behind Yiqing Luo into her room, her eyes filled with worry. "It's all right, don't worry." Yiqing Luo placed her luggage on the bed and began to pack. In the luggage were some of Yiqing Luo's daily necessities and 2 clean and thin bedding. Chapter 168. With Shangguan Fangyi's status and talent, it was destined that he would not be a nobody in the Heavenly Academy. What's more, to be able to grow up in the Shangguan family and even successfully enter the Heavenly Academy, one would naturally have a lot of schemes. Shangguan Fangyi had been teaching in the Heavenly Academy for at least 5 years. In the academy, he had naturally formed a wave of forces that belonged to him. If he were to secretly take action on Yiqing Luo, there was no way to defend against it. Lu Xiaoyu's face was filled with worry, but when she saw Yiqing Luo's expressionless face, calmly laying out the bedsheets. Her heart became more anxious. Qing Luo. If he wants to make a move on me secretly, there's no use worrying about it. Qing Luo's lips curled upwards as she smiled indifferently. Go to sleep. Tomorrow morning we have to go to the public square for training. Lu Xiaoyu still wanted to say something, but Qing Luo continued. If you don't take a good rest, the assessment's overall score will be dragged down during training. If you are allocated to the low profound class, it will be very troublesome if you want to be promoted. Oh well, I won't. In short, it's better to be safe than sorry. If there's anything you need help with, feel free to look for me. I'm not afraid of offending them. Lu Xiaoyu patted Qing Luo's shoulder with a firm gaze. Qing Luo's smile gradually deepened. It felt great to be able to make good friends on the first day of school. Sending Lu Xiaoyu back to her room with her eyes, Qing Luo closed the door and fell onto the bed. Closing his eyes, he prepared to extract his divine sense and enter the azure dew bracelet to cultivate his profound energy. Suddenly, she remembered something and sat up abruptly. Chi-Chi. No wonder he felt like something was missing. Qing Luo's consciousness probed into the beast pet space, but she didn't find Chi-Chi. Before the freshman competition, Chi-Chi was resting with her in the room. When she bumped into Lu Xiaoyu, Chi-Chi was still on her shoulder. She immediately got off the bed and called out Chi-Chi's name in her heart. But there was no response at all. Damn it. Qing Luo clenched her fists tightly as her brows creased tightly. His heart was filled with guilt towards Chi-Chi. She did not even know when Chi-Chi had left her shoulder. He could not even find Chi-Chi now. Ever since she contracted Mu Chi-Chi, she did not care much about Mu Chi-Chi. Qing Luo gathered her long skirt and pushed open the tightly shut window, trying to sneak around the academy to find out where Chi-Chi was. There were many experts in the Heavenly Academy, and she was worried that Chi-Chi would be mistaken as an ordinary pet beast by other students or teachers and captured. As soon as she opened the window, a gust of cold wind blew into her face, causing her black hair to scatter. Qing Luo turned her head and squinted her eyes as her hair fell on her eyelashes. Suddenly her body stiffened. Her slender fingers brushed aside her hair, which had been messed up by the wind, and she stared at the pitch-black night sky. The wind brought a familiar scent of sandalwood. As it seeped into her nose, her restless heart inexplicably calmed down. It's him. Zhou Xian arrived. Just as this thought flashed through his mind, a strong and powerful arm wrapped around his waist. Her back was pressed against a hot, broad chest. The man's chin rested on her shoulder. His mellow and mesmerizing voice sounded beside her ear. Ah Luo, do you want to climb the window? His fresh and elegant sandalwood scent enveloped her completely. The man's warmth also covered her whole body. And she did not resist. Such an intimate action. There was no rejection at all. This man was really amazing. Chapter 169. What are you doing here? Qing Luo's fingers curled into a wisp of his black hair, twining around her fingers. Zhou Xian's thin lips hooked up slightly, whispering, I missed you, so I came to see you. Sneaking into the Heavenly Academy in the middle of the night and touching the female dormitory, if the guards saw you, you will be regarded as a rapist. Qing Luo tugged at his long hair, raised her head and looked at him playfully. But when she raised her head, she was met with a pair of peach blossom eyes. When they looked at each other, there seemed to be an electric current. Her body and mind suddenly went numb, her heart was beating wildly. Zhou Xian's brows were full of laziness, his 5 fingers lightly lifted her chin. Plucking is a flower, I wonder if Luo is willing to let me pluck you? Qing Luo's cheeks flushed red. These words, why did it sound like he was expressing his feelings to her? Don't speak, it means you agree. Zhou Xian's lips hooked up. The hand on her chin suddenly buckled. Her body, along with the strength of the man's fingertips, moved closer to the man. Immediately that peerless face enlarged in her pupils. Warm lips pasted on her lips. Originally it was just a simple touch, Qing Luo reacted and subconsciously stepped back. But the man's arm increased the strength. The big palm fell on the back of her head, forcefully deepening the kiss. He invaded her territory, occupying all her sweetness. Qing Luo's breathing was rapid, her mind was blank, the strength of her body seemed to be drained by Zhou Xian. Her whole body was numb, she had no consciousness to resist. Being hugged by him, being touched by him, she was used to it, it was nothing. But why was it that even kisses she was used to it? Shouldn't be towards Zhou Xian. This thought made Yiqing Luo quiver. The whole person immediately regained her senses. Wu, Yiqing Luo's charming eyes revealed anger, raised her fist, struggling to pound on Zhou Xian's chest. But Zhou Xian seemed to deliberately go against her. The more she struggled, the fiercer he kissed, as if he wanted to kiss away all her reason and swallow her into his stomach. It was until the man's jet-black eyes turned deep black before he released Yiqing Luo's lips. Facing Yiqing Luo's angry and embarrassed expression, Zhou Xian was like a cat that had stolen a fish, his lips curled into a satisfied smile. Looks like I picked the right flower. Zhou Xian gave a low laugh as his fingers caressed his lips, seemingly wanting to continue. The taste is not bad. His actions, his words, made Yiqing Luo feel even more ashamed and indignant. She raised her arm and was about to slap him. Her speed was fast, but Zhou Xian's speed was even faster. Just as he made his move, he felt a grip on his wrist. The man's large palm held her tightly and then pulled her into his embrace. Yiqing Luo's face bumped into Zhou Xian's chest. The fresh and elegant smell of sandalwood was getting thicker, as though it was going to make Yiqing Luo faint. Emperor. Big. Mystic. Just as Yiqing Luo was about to lash out at Zhou Xian, he immediately changed the topic. Ah Luo, I'm here to return your things. You. Yiqing Luo gritted her teeth in anger. Damn it. This man was definitely her nemesis, wasn't he? Once she met him, she would definitely be at a disadvantage. He didn't play the cards according to common sense. Sure enough, it was a world where the bigger fist was the hard truth. She couldn't beat Zhou Xian in a fight, couldn't scold Zhou Xian. Even her sarcastic remarks could be ignored by Zhou Xian. Chapter 170. Ow ow ow, the shrill cry of a pet beast came from behind him. This sound made Yiqing Luo's heart tremble. She didn't have the mood to criticize Zhou Xian. Yiqing Luo used both her hands and feet to push Zhou Xian away. The moment she turned around, she saw a white fluffy ball standing behind her. Snow-white fur without any impurities. A pair of dark eyes were glowing with a watery luster, as if it was acting coquettishly. Wasn't it the missing Chi-Chi? Yiqing Luo opened her arms to it, her eyes were filled with joy. Chi-Chi. Chi-Chi's tiger eyes were sparkling, its little legs kicked and scuttled into Yiqing Luo's arms. Yiqing Luo picked it up and rubbed her little face on its furry head as her lips curled into an elegant arc. Zhou Xian leaned on one side, his hands crossed over his chest. The cold moonlight spilled in from the window, plated that handsome face with a layer of dazzling silver edge. Zhou Xian's pair of sparkling crystal peach blossom eyes squinted slightly, outlining a long and narrow demonic arc. His thin lips curled up slightly, his eyes locked deeply on Yiqing Luo. He smiled at Chi-Chi, smiling till his eyes were curved. That face that usually looked cold and arrogant and glamorous, was actually exceptionally gentle. His eyes couldn't help but become gentle. A pair of warm jade eyes gazed at Yiqing Luo. Outside the window, Wind, who was hiding in the dark, almost fell down from the branch when he saw this scene. Was this still the cold and ruthless overlord in his heart? Zhou Xian smiled faintly. He was looking at Yiqing Luo tenderly, when he saw Yiqing Luo's pink lips, imprinted on Chi-Chi's forehead. His brows suddenly trembled. Zhou Xian strode forward, stretched out his hand and pulled Chi-Chi out from Yiqing Luo's arms, holding its neck. His expression was ugly. Are you male or female? Yiqing Luo was just about to scold him for being crazy again, when she heard Zhou Xian's question. The corners of her mouth twitched. Damn, what does male or female have to do with you? Yiqing Luo stretched out her hand to snatch. Zhou Xian turned around and she pounced on empty air. The man lifted Chi-Chi and locked eyes with it. At this moment, that jet-black peach blossom eyes, where was there any glimmer when he looked at Yiqing Luo earlier? Chi-Chi's hair stood up, and under Zhou Xian's threatening glare, it tucked its tail between its legs and whimpered twice. Speak. Chi-Chi wagged her tail. Awoo, it was one of the 4 sacred beasts, the white tiger. Of course it was a male tiger. Male. Zhou Xian's eyes narrowed as an eerie chill arose. Rescind the contract. Zhou Xian, you're sick. Yiqing Luo snappily hooked onto Dmo Xian's waist and snatched Qi back with one hand. Whether my companion is male or female has nothing to do with you. After Qi was snatched into her hands, Yiqing Luo was about to let go of Dmo Xian when the man suddenly tightened his arms and pulled her into his embrace. "A Luo threw himself at you and you still want to run?" Dmo Xian raised his brows slightly, his slender fingers easily hooked onto Qi from Yiqing Luo's hand. With a casual toss, Qi tumbled a few rounds in the air and fell onto the bed. The small body immediately burrowed into the mattress, only revealing a small tail. A sacred beast was actually frightened by Dmo Xian and became so obedient. Dmo Xian was really deserving of the Nirvana legend. Yiqing Luo's mouth couldn't help twitching. "Are you done?" Chapter 171. Yiqing Luo slapped the back of his hand fiercely. "Why did you bring my Qi out?" Dmo Xian didn't evade and let Yiqing Luo slap him. That slap was very forceful. Even Qi, who was curled up in the quilt, peeked out its little head and looked at them with twinkling eyes. However, the man's expression didn't change. Instead, he bent down and his thin lips were almost on Yiqing Luo's neck. His hot breath sprayed on her skin bit by bit. "I picked it up casually, it has your scent on it." Picked up? Was her Qi so easy to pick up? Yiqing Luo squinted her eyes and looked at Qi. "You were really picked up by him?" Qi blinked and nodded its head. "Ah, Luo doesn't believe me?" Dmo Xian turned her face and made her look at him. The man's face was full of resentment as he cupped Yiqing Luo's face with both hands. "Ah, Luo, do you think that I have ulterior motives towards this male tiger?" Yiqing Luo's eyes twitched. Was this really the legendary overlord? Moreover, he was too obsessed with Qi's gender? "You speak as if your nine-tailed fox is not a female." Yiqing Luo rolled her eyes and pulled away the man's hand that was caressing her face. "Nope." "Then that's it, your fox is a female." Yiqing Luo's words stopped abruptly as her eyes widened. What the hell? Such a flirtatious nine-tailed fox, was it not a female? In her mind, a picture suddenly came up. A seductive man dressed in a white velvet robe with coquettish eyes winking at Dmo, simply too beautiful. So beautiful that Yiqing Luo couldn't bear to think about it anymore. "Your taste is quite heavy." Yiqing Luo's lips twitched as she laughed dryly. "All right, since you have sent Qi back, go do whatever you need to do, I need to rest." After Dmo Xian's teasing, Yiqing Luo believed his words. After all, Qi would not lie to her. She yawned and walked towards the bed. Just as he took a step forward, his waist suddenly tightened and his body suddenly became light. When she came back to her senses, she was already half in the man's arms and lying on the bed. The man's black hair spilled over the bed like clouds and smoke. His purple robe was like a blossoming mandala, adding a touch of demonic charm to his appearance. He turned sideways with one hand under Yiqing Luo's head and the other around her waist. Yiqing Luo's entire face was buried in his chest. His sandalwood scent filled his nostrils. "You, go to sleep." Dmo Xian's thin lips curled into a slight arc as he shut his eyes tightly. "I'm sleepy too." "Go to sleep if you're tired. What are you trying to do by snatching my bed?" Yiqing Luo roared in her heart. Her hands and feet struggled trying to push the man away. But Dmo Xian's body was like a huge lock, trapping her and she was unable to move at all. His arms moved up slightly and gently covered the back of her head. His magnetic low husky voice was like a lullaby in her ears. "Be good, don't make a fuss, go to sleep." His big palm through the black hair exuded a scorching heat. It was warm and made her feel at ease. This was a feeling that Yiqing Luo had never felt since her past life. While she was in a daze, the shallow breathing sound in her ears gradually calmed down. Had he fallen asleep? Yiqing Luo moved a little and sensed no other changes in Dmo Xian's breath. He might really be sleepy. Yiqing Luo's body stiffened and no longer moved. Perhaps this embrace was too warm and made her feel at ease. Or perhaps Yiqing Luo was also sleepy. After a while she fell into a deep sleep. Chapter 172. This time Yiqing Luo slept exceptionally sweetly. When she was in the hidden family, Yiqing Luo had developed the habit of being vigilant at all times. Even in her sleep, the slightest sound could wake her up. In particular, her strong perception was too sharp. She had never tasted the feeling of sleeping soundly. This time Yiqing Luo actually woke up after the academy's bell rang several times, until Lu Xiaoyu came in to urge her to get up. She then slowly opened her eyes. Zhou Xian was long gone. Her hand touched the side of her body, it was icy cold. He should have left for a period of time. Yiqing Luo's eyes were filled with astonishment as she sat on the bed in a daze. She had never slept so comfortably. She didn't even know when Zhou Xian left. She didn't even know when Lu Xiaoyu entered her room. Her slender white palm, inch by inch, moved to her heart, her 5 fingers clutching the collar of her chest tightly. What drug did Zhou Xian give her? It actually made her change her habits for many years unknowingly. He was really her nemesis. The academy's bell rang again. This was the last reminder bell for the gathering in the square. Yiqing Luo immediately got up, dressed herself up with the fastest speed, changed into a set of light clothes and gathered with Lu Xiaoyu at the square. This time was neither too early nor too late. The square was also considered quiet. Other than this batch of freshmen, there was a batch of students in the high profound class area, and a few students in the intermediate profound class area, undergoing morning training. In front of the freshmen, there were already 2 training instructors dressed in tight martial uniforms, with a big drill word printed on their backs. Their faces were cold, expressionless and full of anger and majesty. Just by standing there, their imposing manner had already suppressed this group of freshmen. 400 to 500 people lined up under the call of the 2 training instructors. Dear freshmen, we are the instructors in charge of the freshmen's morning training. The 2 instructors called out. The instructor on the left had a cold face, his eyes were cold. My surname is He. Although the instructor on the right also had a majestic aura, the corner of his mouth hooked up with a slight smile, coupled with the contrast of instructor He, it seemed easier to get along. My surname is Chu, just call me Instructor Chu. Hello, Instructor He, Instructor Chu. The freshmen immediately stood up straight and shouted in unison. When training ends, it will be time for you to be divided into classes. This time's training will also be integrated into the overall results of your assessment. The final result will be the standard for your class placement. Instructor Chu smiled and explained today's training. Each of you has a piece of paper in your hands. After you are divided into classes, you can take it to the Faculty Affairs office to collect your uniform. From tomorrow onwards, you have to wear the academy uniform when you come to the plaza for training. Tomorrow? Do you still have to wake up so early tomorrow? An extremely low voice complained. I'd rather sleep in the dormitory than listen to your nagging. Although his voice was low, it could still be heard clearly in such a silent situation. All the students turned their gazes towards the direction of the grumbling. Although these words were what they were thinking. But, roasting in front of the instructor, did he not want to stay in the academy anymore? Everyone wanted to see who this incredibly stupid person was. Students in the 5th row of the 2nd row, step out. Instructor He's voice was cold as he shouted. But after a long time no one stepped out. On the contrary, the students who were called out were still looking left and right, as if trying to find out who the instructor was calling. She only reacted when the person beside her pushed her. Me? What right do you have to ask me to step out? She suddenly blushed and bit her red lips. Instructor Ho sneered when he saw her lowering her head obediently. His gaze swept across the freshmen and said in a cold tone, The Heavenly Academy is not short of students with outstanding qualifications, nor students with great power and influence. Don't even think of using the same tricks you used outside in the academy. The reason why the Heavenly Academy is hailed as the best academy is because of the Heavenly Academy's strength. The freshmen nodded in agreement. With an example of killing the chicken to warn the monkeys, these freshmen who were originally suppressed by Instructor Ho's imposing manner and did not dare to speak, even their breathing became more cautious. Well, what should be said has been said by Instructor Ho. Although the words are not pleasant to hear, but every sentence is from the bottom of his heart. If the freshmen want to study in the Heavenly Academy for a long time, then remember what Instructor Ho said. Instructor Chu's mouth hooked up into a faint smile, his cold and stiff face became slightly gentle. Chapter 174. The purpose of your coming to the Heavenly Academy, is it to show off to others that you are able to get into the Heavenly Academy, or is it to become stronger to win glory for your family for the mainland? This question was extremely incisive. It could be said that more than 70% of the freshmen present were trying their best to get into the Heavenly Academy because of its reputation. To be able to enter the Heavenly Academy even if it was in the low class was a symbol of status. In the future, when you walk outside the academy and show off your identity as a student of the Heavenly Academy, you would be admired by everyone. This was the power of the Heavenly Academy's reputation. Just like how everyone's expression changed when they heard the words Overlord, it was the same logic. Therefore, when Instructor Chu asked the question, none of the freshmen answered. Yiqing Luo didn't speak either. She still understood the principle of shooting the bird that sticks out. Before she had enough strength, it was better to keep a low profile. On the day of the ability assessment, she had already been in the limelight with Zhou Xian's escort. As the saying goes, there's always someone better than you out there. Her high profile would only invite some unnecessary trouble. I think you already have the answer in your heart. Instructor Chu said indifferently after a long silence. He crossed his arms in front of his chest and his lips curled up into a mocking smile. Whether it's to show off to others or to raise my profound rank or to make myself stronger, there's only one starting point, is to learn. If you come to the Heavenly Academy and learn nothing, will others laugh at you for being mediocre, or will they laugh at the Heavenly Academy for not knowing how to teach? Sounds of people sucking in cold breaths could be heard in the square. Instructor Chu's words woke everyone up from their dreams. Yiqing Luo's lips raised slightly. She was very interested in the teaching methods of these two instructors. These two were definitely brothers who had been partners for many years. One was cold and domineering, the other convinced with reason. With such a combination, there were very few freshmen who could escape from their control. These students only thought that once they were admitted into the Heavenly Academy, it would represent infinite glory and a symbol of status. But they had never thought that after entering the Heavenly Academy, if they stagnated and were unable to advance to the profound grade. In the eyes of the world, it would never be said that the Heavenly Academy with the best school did not know how to teach. It would only say, in the Heavenly Academy, which was full of talents, their aptitude seemed extremely mediocre. It was such a good starting point for them to speed up their growth, but there were no results. It was simply a waste. At that time, all the brilliance would turn into a shadow and cover all the light. Do you want to become stronger? The freshmen were still in a state of shock when they suddenly heard Instructor Chu's explosive roar and were shocked. Yes, he replied in a scattered manner. Louder. Yes. Louder. Yes. Do you want to let the light of being admitted into the Heavenly Academy shine brighter? Yes. Good. Now run 5 laps around the square. All right. After hundreds of people answered in unison, they finally realized what was going on. 5 laps. Are you kidding me? The plaza was so huge that one could not see the end of it at a glance. Even if they were on the inside, circling 1 round would be fatal, not to mention 5 rounds. First row, start running. Second row, follow up. Instructor Chu did not seem to notice the resentment in the freshman's eyes and directly shouted out the slogan. 5 laps is a bit too much, instructor. Can you just run 1 lap? Just 1 lap. This early in the morning, after running 1 lap, I won't have the energy to do anything for the rest of the day. Instructor, you must be joking with us, right? Chapter 175. Just as the crowd were whining and complaining incessantly, Yiqing Luo had already taken the lead and started running. She estimated that running 1 round in the inner line of the square was about 2 kilometers and 5 rounds would be 10 kilometers. For ordinary people, no one could run all the way. But these things in her previous life, when Yiqing Luo was trained as the head of the hidden family, not to mention 10 kilometers, even if it was 20 kilometers, she had to run non-stop. This could train a person's physical strength, endurance, and mental power. A lot of training was based on running. Hundreds of freshmen saw Yiqing Luo spontaneously running and all of their faces turned ugly. If the students collectively protested, the instructors might reduce the number of laps because no one listened to the command. They didn't expect Yiqing Luo to take the initiative to run. Then Lu Xiaoyu also followed. The 2 instructors' sight fell on Yiqing Luo. They had been in the academy for such a long time and had always been the freshman instructors, so naturally they had a set of ability to judge people. From the moment Yiqing Luo stood among the freshmen, the two of them had already noticed this girl. From the beginning to the end, there was no hint of impatience on her face. Or perhaps no expression. Unlike the other freshmen, although they didn't say anything, but there was some dissatisfaction towards the instructors on the surface. Looking at her proper running posture, uniform footsteps and breathing, the admiration in the two instructors' eyes was even more obvious. Shangguan Luli saw all these, especially when she saw the instructors actually admired Yiqing Luo. A sense of imbalance surged in her heart. She clenched her fists and gritted her teeth. Wasn't it just running? Who didn't know how to do it? She had made the instructors unhappy earlier. Now she would pull the instructor's impression of her back. Shangguan Luli took a deep breath and with a burst of strength she quickly rushed over. In a short while she had already reached the front of Yiqing Luo. When she overtook Yiqing Luo, she didn't forget to throw her a provocative look and immediately left Yiqing Luo far behind. "Qing Luo, do you want to chase after her?" Lu Xiaoyu followed beside Yiqing Luo, maintaining the same speed as her. Looking at Shangguan Luli's arrogant look, she revealed a look of disdain. Yiqing Luo laughed lightly. "Once you start running you can't stop after 5 laps. Let her show off now, later on she will suffer." "I suddenly feel like you're very black-bellied." Lu Xiaoyu rolled her eyes and instantly understood the meaning of Yiqing Luo's words. "Then wouldn't I be in trouble? 5 laps. It would take my life." "Run slowly." The instructor only said 5 laps and didn't set a time limit. Yiqing Luo glanced at Lu Xiaoyu. She believed that Lu Xiaoyu definitely had the ability to finish the 5 laps with her. Lu Xiaoyu's running posture was as standard as hers, and she adjusted her breathing very well. She also knew how to use profound qi to relieve the fatigue in her legs. Although it would be very difficult for them to complete 5 laps, they would definitely be able to complete it. "That's right. Let's run first. When those people start running and we're done we can watch them." Lu Xiaoyu nodded with a smile. Then he reached out to touch his stomach. "If I had known this would happen, I would have secretly brought some pastries and hid them in my clothes. If I had something to eat I would definitely be more energetic now." Yiqing Luo couldn't help but laugh. 1 ran away, 2 ran away, 3 ran away. Following that, several freshmen lined up one by one and started running. After running 1 lap, Shangguan Luli, who initially left Yiqing Luo half a lap behind, obviously couldn't hold on any longer. She ran with all her might and towards the end her legs were getting more and more tired. Even lifting up was extremely strenuous. But unfortunately she couldn't stop. There were too many pairs of eyes staring at her. If she stopped now, others might ridicule her. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.